Being a Longhorn is opportunity, pride, achievement, community, safety. Being a Longhorn is a choice to become a hero, to lead, to thrive in any setting. Being a Longhorn means immersing yourself in fine arts, learning at your own pace in Montessori, starting your path to college in elementary, earning a college degree in high school. The pride of being a Longhorn lives on long after graduation. Educate, empower, inspire.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our Digital Parent University on your child's social media and cell phones. I am Alicia Davis, Director of Family and Community Engagement for the district. Of course, I always like to start things out by telling you a few upcoming events. On Monday, we have our Scarlet Seniors of CHISD visiting High Point Elementary School. So if you are 55 years old or above, or if you know someone 55 years old or above, please let them know. We will be doing a tour at High Point Elementary. It'll be at 10 o'clock in the morning. Also on February 27th, we will begin our paper missions competition. So all of our 3rd through 12th grade scholars have access to paper, our tutoring program that is free for every 3rd through 12th grader. They will begin paper missions, which are math programs and math fun, engaging activities that you can do within the paper platform. The scholars, I think the 10 scholars with the highest number of paper missions completed win some swag items from paper. On next Thursday, March the 2nd, is National Read Across America Day. The whole week is next week. However, we will honor it on Thursday. So be on the lookout for some opportunities for you to read at elementary campuses here in Cedar Hill ISD. Also on Saturday, March the 4th, we will have the Cedar Hill Block Party. That is the city of Cedar Hill hosting that. And of course, the ISD will be represented. March 13th through 17th is spring break, no school, and the district is closed during that week. On March the 28th, we will host a virtual community bond meeting. So please be on the lookout for information regarding that, since we are up for a bond on the May 6th ballot. We will also host a virtual safety and security summit. We are getting that date. We are finalizing that date. Also with the bond meeting and the security summit, we will also have in-person meetings as well. So all that information is forthcoming. Now, tonight, we have several presenters and panelists. Here's one. Sorry about that. We have Mr. John Edmond. He is the principal at Collegiate Academy Middle School and High School, and the Dr. Peggy M. Wilson STEM Center. We have Dr. Kalitha Johnson. She is the associate principal at Collegiate Academy Middle School and High School, and the Dr. Peggy M. Wilson STEM Center. We have Ms. Candace Minor Chisholm. She is the counselor of Collegiate Academy Middle School. And we have Miss Brittany Boyd. She is the assistant principal at Waterford Oaks Elementary School. And we might have Dr. Ricky Henderson. He's our behavioral specialist. And if not, I know Dr. Johnson will take care of those slides. Okay, and now we will move it on to Mr. Edmond or Miss Boyd. Who is it? Okay, unmute.
Good evening, everyone. I hope all is well. So tonight I'm going to start us off with the benefits of limiting screen time. As we know, limited screen time is not just for kids or our teens, it's for us as well. And there are many different ways we can improve our lives by limiting our screen time. One is lower stress. We can help to improve our sleep habits. We can better focus or gain better focus and brain function. We can get out there and boost our physical activity. And believe it or not, it can help us or help to increase our ability to understand emotional cues. All right, so then we move on to how do you create these screen time limits. I'm going to be speaking from having an Apple phone and using Apple products at home. That's what I'm most familiar with, and this is something that I do at home with my family as well as myself. The great part about Apple products is if you create these screen time limits, they work across all Apple products. So they're not just limited to your phones, but your other Apple devices. Now, I put some pictures up for you to see. One of the things that you have to do, you have to make sure that your child, if we're talking about for our children and teens, that they've been added as family members on our phones. And you can do that under your settings. When you go to your settings, you're going to pick screen time. And I put the little icon up there for you can see. The easiest way is to start with downtime. And that's that purple icon right there. And what downtime does is it limits usage between certain hours, or it creates some parameters for when your student can use their phone. So for example, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. That means that they can use it fully, depending on what you have set on their phone, between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. without requesting any additional screen time. However, once that screen time ends, the phone stops working. That's messages, different things, depending on what your settings are, and it limits their usage after that. You can get more into detail about what type of limits you put on there, and if you look, there are several different ways you can do that. You can limit the usage of certain apps. You can limit who your child talks to after certain hours. You can choose to always allow certain content, and then you have your content and privacy restrictions as well. And that has more to do with what type of content is filtered and the level that your child has access to.
So as far as that goes, it's the same for Android users as well. I'm honestly not as familiar with that platform as I'm an Apple user as well. But for the similarities, they go across the board. You have the setup for what is called digital well-being. And to find that is to go to the app, go to the settings, and then turn on the show icon on the app list. And it will give you the option of opening the digital well-being. And then you open your phone setting app, tap the digital well-being and parent controls. And under your digital well-being tools, that tab will show your data. And of course, there's a tip link as far as to search for that, how you can identify how to go through each one of those steps through Android as well as Apple. For the next set of, I guess, as we continue with the creating screen time limits, you would go into adding the screen time widget and then use the screen time widget to find the top 3 apps that you may use each day. So those are areas in which you would kind of hear a little bit more with Ms. Boyd on how and the Apple is using the same idea for Android. You can really select, okay, I only really want these 3 to be used for my scholar. Or, you know, they have this open time window to do such. For Androids 9 and higher, you can do the touch and hold the screen button. You can tap the widgets. You can touch and hold the screen widget time widget, and you'll be able to see the images on the home screens, and then pull the widget where you want it to where you want it, and then lift your finger. So there are small options that can be done to just help make sure your scholar is in compliance or have the things in place that you want that's best for them and protect them. And Ms. Boyd will continue with how that looks with our iPhones.
Sorry, I got a message saying sound. Can you guys hear me okay?
Your audio is very, it's distorted.
Okay.
I can hear you, but it just sounds.
It's coming with static. It's like staticky.
We can continue if we want her to restart and try to come back in.
And we can go on maybe to this portion.
Yes, that's fine. Thank you.
So with monitoring the apps, the monitoring apps, excuse me, there are several. Now, these are just a few that we're sharing with you. Bark is one that we've used at our home as a parent, and it is one you have to pay for. So there is sometimes small fees. Some things are free. Actually, if you have a wireless character such as Verizon, T-Mobile, AT&T, they also have options for monitoring your scholars' information on app. And so what we actually use with Bark, it allows us to see if there are some type of certain websites that appear for our scholar, or to be able to block them. A lot of the information that we actually use as parents are through our phones. And so again, what Ms. Boyd shared earlier, the iPhone allow you to do a lot of the skills to ensure that you're blocking, supporting downtime, making sure the scholars are not on their screen time excessively. But these monitoring apps that we have here, they give you options of identifying even deeper, what are your scholars viewing, or identifying what type of text messages are coming through. Now, some may say, why would I want to do that? Because this world does not allow you to know exactly what your scholar is doing at all times. Things are going everywhere. So what's really important is sometimes getting information that you need to support your scholar and guiding them in the right direction. These apps allow us to do those specific skills because they may be connecting with other peers. They may be connecting with people that you're not familiar with. And then you can actually monitor if those things or conversations that are happening are safe for your scholars.
All right, so good afternoon and good evening, rather, and thank you all for joining us on this adventure or this informational session. So the different types of social media apps that kids are engaging in that we see that are common across our campus, they have Facebook, there's Twitter where kids are interacting, Instagram, TikTok, you even have Snapchat. That's one that's pretty still solid at our campus as well. And then in terms of students' interaction, you also had chat groups. So think in terms of GroupMe, Telegram, Viber, Signal, WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, Line, WeChat, Skype, and Discord. So from an administrator's perspective, I caution parents or making a suggestion to parents to make sure you know what's going on with your scholar or with your students. I say that for myself. So there are some things like I routinely do with my kids and their phones is try to audit their chats, because a lot of things that goes on in the chats, and mind you, they have tons of chats because they have lots of friends. So you may have one chat that has 2 people in it, another chat has 10, another chat has 2. So it's a lot to monitor, but we as parents have to do it in order to safeguard just our kids. And in that, it takes time. So I have 3 kids, and like I said, it's very exhaustive to go through their devices, but that helps us to try to get in front of things that may come to school. So some of the things I deal with at school regarding just social media, it really does, number one, interfere with school, with the learning environment. I mean, it interferes with their academics because socially they're trying to connect, but then they have this platform to where information can be spread so fast. So if you think back in times when we were in school, and I'm a little older than what's going on now, so I didn't have technology in school. So if there was a rumor going around in school, it might take a day or 2 for everything to get out. Now with social media, a kid can say something about another kid or can airdrop something, and it's a massive message across the board. And that affects, I kid you not, it affects our learning environment at all costs. I think in terms of even making a suggestion of making sure you know your kids' username. So if they're out there on Snapchat, or if you've given them permission to be on TikTok, make sure you know what their usernames are and that you're following them. So say, for example, I'm not even on Instagram yet, but I know I have my daughter that's interested. And once we give her permission, one thing I'm going to do as a parent is make sure I get in on Instagram to better learn what that looked like so that I can monitor what she's doing and she can see that I'm monitoring her and what she's doing. So that's another suggestion I would offer as well, is just make sure you audit chats for sure. Make sure you know usernames. And there's a lot of things that doesn't happen necessarily at the school, because even at our campus, we have where school cell phones are put away. They can use them for breakfast, lunch, and after school only. Other times they're put away. However, when things happen after school or they happen on the weekend, that aftermath comes to campus, which then in turns I have to deal with it, or I have to address it or investigate whatever's going on. And again, it's not all social media is bad. So I don't want to communicate that, number one. But number two is we as parents, we have to be diligent about whether we're tech savvy or not. We have to learn how they're communicating and stay in front of it so that we can help guide them. Because another piece to this too that I think of, SEL, socio-emotional learning, is huge right now. Mental health is huge right now. And I kid you not that it didn't exist before social media, because it did. But I can say from my own experience, I feel like social media has definitely exacerbated the SEL component, the mental health component, because the information is so quick to get, and the kids don't have the skills to know how to bounce back. They don't know how to bounce back fast, or the coping strategies, or how to get out of that room. And so that's where I think we as parents, the more tapped in we're in, we can help our kids use social media responsibly, number one. But number two, we can help kind of supervise what they're doing. And yes, give them permission for some things, but maybe not for something else. And it's easy to say, yes, you can do all of this. But the monitoring piece is what's huge with that. Without that monitoring piece, you have a lot that's going on in chats, in Twitter, Instagram, Facebook Messenger, that you can't get it all. But as long as they know that you're monitoring them, that at least helps, especially at the school level, because we do chase a lot of chats and messages and Instagrams and TikToks trying to get in front of behavior and making them change their behavior for the better. So that is in that regard.
Good evening, everyone. I hope you guys can hear me. On my end, it's been kind of choppy, but hopefully my presentation part will be heard. I will be discussing the positive and negative sides of using these different social media platforms. Of course, when social media, different platforms were created, they were intended for this first thing, to be able to reach out and build relationships with those individuals that you're not able to necessarily connect with. You know, Facebook was created so that individuals can reach out to those family members and friends in another state and things of that nature. So share photos and pictures of the babies growing and things like that. So that was the initial intent of different platforms. Of course, offering support, finding those new friends, building communities. Hey, I, have twins. I'm in a group with twins, or I have a family of, 5 children. I'm in a group with this individual. Or I love dogs. There's different communities that you're joining, and you're like, oh, I have like-mindedness with these individuals, and I'm joining them so we can talk about our similarities. Of course, spreading news. That's always something that's been, avid for different social media platforms. You hear the news, you get the news right away, positive or negative, but you're able to receive that information quickly. And then a lot of kids nowadays are seeing that you can build businesses, and adults are able to build those businesses and see, hey, I have a fragrance line or makeup line, or I have students on our campus who have a bracelet line. They're trying to start something new. So they're able to build themselves up via these social media platforms, show their products, and get it out there quickly instead of sitting up in front of a grocery store or something of that nature. So that's been beneficial. So it can be a great source of information, entertainment, and inspiration if it's used effectively. And like everyone has said so far, parents, you have to be able to know what your children are doing on these different social media platforms. Because again, are so many communities they can join in that are positive, but we're now going to talk about the negative side of some of those communities as well. So unfortunately, the negative side of it is very distracting. And as adults, we can even say that. You go to a restaurant nowadays, what do you see? Individuals on a date, individuals out with their families, and everybody is looking down at their phones. And they're on some type of social media. They're not having a conversation with one another. They are distracted with whatever is on that phone. Loss of productivity. Again, people at school, students at school, individuals at work, you have to see what's next on that social media platform. And you're not able to get your task completed. Students are logging into each other on their social media and not completing their homework. They're not getting onto Schoology and completing those tasks that they need academically, but they're sure to get on TikTok and make sure they post these dances by 8 p.m. because you have to get a certain amount of likes by a certain time if you follow those different venues. So you need to make sure, again, that you're monitoring what your children are doing. It disrupts your sleep. These kids come to school and they are tired. They've been testing this whole week, and some of them just want to go to bed. If you ask them why, oh, I was up on Discord playing this game or doing something here and there. And again, nothing academic, not saying I was cramming to study for this test or doing anything like that, or I was watching my siblings. I was on social media. I was posting something. I had to watch this new trend that's happening. Some news hit and I had to read it. Again, they're not getting the amount of sleep that they need. And as adults as well, we are also fitting into this mode of being on social media and not getting the rest that we need. We definitely know that they're more exposed to bullying, the cyberbullying. You have those individuals who sit behind the computer, sit behind those phones, and just click away, say all the nastiest things to individuals, whether they want to show who they are or not. And it affects our students, it affects us emotionally, because you're hearing these negative things being said to you and you don't understand why. But again, it's so prevalent now. They can sit behind the screen and say all these vile things and expect people to just move on with their day and think it was okay. It's not. Of course, spreading rumors, like Dr. Johnson said, this is something that we deal with, on our campus. They say these things about you online. Then we have to go and research. Well, did you say this? Well, who is this in this chat? Well, what's this name? So you need to know your scholars' usernames. You need to know their friends and things of that nature, because being in the chat sometimes accommodates you being guilty as well, because you didn't remove yourself or you didn't say, hey guys, this is not a good idea. We shouldn't be saying these things. You're putting LOL or, yeah, I saw him at school today. Can you believe what he had on, or anything like that? So you're including, or the students are adding themselves to the situation instead of removing it or reporting it to the campus or to their parent or guardian. Another big thing, unrealistic views of other people's lives and peer pressure. You're seeing all these fabulous houses and cars and, oh, I want this lifestyle and I have to get this amount of likes by this time or I'm going to delete my post. That's not real. You have these individuals with, again, beautiful bodies, beautiful outfits and cars and things like that, but their normal daily lives, day to day, may not look like that. The money that they're flashing, that's the big thing now, making sure that you're showing how much money you have. And then what happens? Somebody finds out where you're living and they can come and rob you. You're telling, I'm on vacation at this moment. Now they know you're not home. Okay. You have to understand, students have to understand, you do not have to post everything, and everything that's posted is not necessarily real. It's to get likes. It's to show you what I have, even though I'm not necessarily living this way. And then it lowers the other person's self-esteem if they're already feeling like, I don't have enough. I'm not like my friends, or I'm not like these other people, but they have everything. That causes them to feel like they're not worthy and they don't have enough of whatever this is that social media is showing them. It's this big thing of missing out. I have to see the next bit of information. If I don't see it, I'm going to be upset, and everybody at school is going to know but me. You have kids like that who don't have Instagram or who don't have TikTok, but their friends do, and they're using their friend's phone and have a code and things of that nature. So you have to also keep an open line of communication with your scholars and let them know why you're not allowing them to have certain social media platforms, so that they don't feel like they have to be so connected to the social media when you tell them that they can't, or when you put those time limit or restraints on there. But they're feeling like, I'm left out and I have to know what's going on. And we also know it's isolation. You're so addicted to the phone and looking at it that you're missing out on what's around you. And then when you're finally back and, oh, well, what happened? You've missed out. Now you feel alone, like I'm not a part of it because my world is in this phone. My world is happening on this app and not what's actually in front of you. So we need to remove that. Depression and anxiety has grown a lot with social media, again, because people are seeing this lifestyle or thinking that they have to be connected in a certain way. And it's not what we're looking for. So we have to have those open lines of communication. We have to talk to our children daily, at dinner, ask them how their day is going at school. Even if they have social media, ask them, hey, let me see what you're posting. It's not there. If you're paying for it, it's your bill. Hey, let me see what's on our phone. Let's see what you've posted on our app. Okay, you have to build that relationship and let them know, I'm not trying to diminish your privacy or take anything away from you. But again, we have to keep our kids safe. And we have to be safe as well, because as adults, we're guilty too of posting everything and needing to know the next thing. And then lastly, of course, exposure to content that is not age appropriate. They're sexting in these Snapchats. They now have the thing where you post and it disappears. They have the spam chat rooms where they're putting some, very inappropriate things and pictures and videos of themselves. And they're thinking that it's just for that private room. But if you have iPhones, you can screen record. So it's not private anymore. So that job that you thought you were going to get after you got out of college, somebody's going to find this post that you made when you were 17, when you were doing something or saying something inappropriate. And again, we just don't know how that's going to happen moving forward in your life. So we have to monitor our kids' social media. We have to be sure to let them know why we're saying no to certain things. Because again, I know we want to build relationships, have, oh, I'm your friend and things of that nature with your kids, but you're also their parent or guardian. And we also have to set the example as well. If you're addicted to your phones and you're always in your phone and need to know, it might be time to put it down as well. Give yourself some screen time as well. Thank you.
Absolutely. And to add to that, just being careful and helping the kids to realize, because the kids in their mindset, especially at the middle school level, I'm not going to even say at the high school level, they really don't conceptualize that when you post things, good or bad, it's out there forever. So as Ms. Chisholm said, that, yeah, you're screen recording. And then even sometimes people take a screenshot of something. So even though you think Snapchat took it down in 24 hours, if kids have screenshotted that photo or whatever you posted, if they repost it, it's still out there. So just helping them to see that, because I've had several students, so I'm going back to the discipline framework, to where I'm doing investigations and handling cases involving the inappropriate pictures, involving chasing a chat, or, oh, I thought that was deleted. Yeah, you did delete it, but somebody screenshotted it. So it's still out there, or they repost it. So just helping the kids to understand that what you put out there is out there. And like Chisholm said, it could follow you even after you graduate, to where if you're trying to get a certain career and so forth, they're going to do their homework on you. So just make sure that whatever's out there is positive and it's the best representation of yourself. So what do you want your identity or your reputation to be that's authentic? And how do you want to show up on social media the appropriate way? The last little suggestion I'll put in here as a parent, when you think in terms of the positive things and the negative things as well, for me as a parent, I make my kids turn their devices in at nighttime. So she talked about how adults or even kids, the kids are coming to school, they're tired, they're exhausted, and it's because they're chasing chats all night. They're chasing games all night. So for me, my kids know to turn their devices in every night. No, you can have it a little longer on the weekend, but during the school night, no, you don't need that device while you're resting. Your sleep is more important. So that's another suggestion too. I know that's hard for some parents if you haven't initiated that. For me, when my kids got their device first day, at nighttime, you turned it in. So that's all they know. But if it's something that you want to implement into the way you do social media or devices in your house, then as long as you're consistent and you stay with it, they'll conform. They'll gripe and complain. But more importantly, what's important? Their sleep, their rest, and so that they can be ready for their academics when they go to school. Thank you.
And to add what Dr. Johnson said real quick, a lot of the students, they'll say, and recommend, I'll say, hey, do you put your phone up? Do you give your phone to your parent or guardian? Well, no, it's my alarm clock. I understand that. But again, we can get alarm clocks from the Dollar General, get some batteries, plug it in, have two different sources. I have a plug-in alarm clock for my kids and one with batteries, just in case the power goes out.
Right.
So again, we have to make sure that we're not using that also, because they're saying it's their alarm, but then they're also on this phone until about 1 o'clock in the morning. So that's something to think about as well.
So as we kind of lead into this, actually the last slide we'll go back on some other slides, but and in addition to what the young ladies were speaking on, being tired. All right. So just a moment of that. Being tired leads to anxiety, depression, bad choices made by any individual. So it's very important. That's why as a school, we naturally try to work on supporting scholars with some of our natural needs, giving them food, make sure they have water, make sure that they're warm or cool, depending on the situation. And that's important for every individual, every human being. So this website here is called Putting People First and Mental Health at McLean Hospital. It is a highly accredited website from Harvard University. This website gives some information and insight on certain areas for individuals who may be focused on their screen time more than their mental health. And so if you read through that website, it talks about the social dilemma of mental health for our scholars, effects on anxiety and depression, how much screen time is actually available or needed, or less than, if you will, webinars to actually go over information and let you see what the effects are and how you can do things differently to support your scholar, mental health screening, and then of course, even suicide prevention and how screen time and social media may affect suicide. So just some ideas of how you can better support your scholar and read through how it affects you, as well as how it may affect children. This is a good resource, one of very many, I would say, but just one that I want to highlight.
Were we going to go back, Ms. Boyd, if you would like to go back in?
Yes, I'm going to cover those because of the sound. So at this one here, go to the next slide, please.
This one, okay.
So going back to the iPhone and Android, I'm pretty sure Android does the same. But on the iPhone, we were speaking of how we can limit our scholars' interaction. This is just a few pictures to show you what we're looking at. So in other words, our scholars mentioned here shows entertainment and games, Twitter, Instagram, Discord, as we mentioned earlier. And you can specifically say, hey, you can see the limit of how scholars have been using their time. That's one area that you see on the left-hand side. On the right-hand side, you can see the specific apps that you can say, hey, my scholar can utilize these apps when they're not on downtime. Excuse me, when they are on downtime. So downtime obviously meaning the time that they're not supposed to be using the device for entertainment or for social media, but they can still use for their messages, their maps, Bible, calculator, calendar, Life 360, which is a tracking system again for our scholars. And ultimately, you can also say specifically who can they contact. So you could say, hey, I only want you to contact, mom, dad, aunt, uncle, brother, sister, whatnot. And therefore, scholars will not be able to have access to their phone for all the other people that could be distracting. And so the final picture here is just a repeat, but it goes back to identifying that one, you can identify screen time in which the scholar have already utilized. The other is using screen time in which you can say, hey, this time is limited to this specific area. Scholar cannot spend more than 20 minutes on entertainment and games. Scholar cannot spend more than 30 minutes on Discord. And once it goes past that time, it cuts off. Their whole screen time might still be running, but only for those particular areas, it will not continue. So we do have options in just the devices we utilize every single day. However, what my understanding is key to understand that if you have an iPhone, everyone has to have an iPhone because it's a part of your cloud system. Android, you have a few more options with that because you can then utilize other apps in order to get to that product and make sure your phones are synced with your scholar. But it's just another way of ensuring that you are helping to protect your family. This one here, it goes to and share about the screen time limits. So, you're going to have some kids who, hey, they want their time. So what's big on this one is younger children can avoid unintended purchases, restricted apps. Children have to request permission to add apps and restricted or inappropriate content. So you can say specifically, no rated R videos that may come through your Apple movies, no explicit music coming from Apple iCloud. Lord, I'm messing them up now.
iTunes.
Thank you, iTunes, Apple Music. And then, of course, you can also say for the app purchases, my scholar cannot purchase any apps that are older than 14, right? Or period. I say for every app that they have, I have to approve it. Therefore, I know what it is. I've researched it. I have an understanding. And then I can put in a code and say, yes, they can have this app. And then even for purchases, when they go to, say, I give them access to having Amazon or having access to apps that may cost money, before they can make those purchases or their iTunes apps, they can't do anything with that without the permission from the parent. Now, older children, that's when we're going into driving focus, or we're going into the TV provider for different options of what they can watch. As I said earlier, that's really key because scholars cannot use or change their passcodes without our permission as well. At that age, they're going to want to change things and say, oh, you know what? I don't want this app anymore. I'm going to delete this app. Well, they can't even delete the app without the parent permission. Now, you can set those restrictions to where they can or can't, but it's really important, again, to know that younger children have options that we can utilize. Older children have the same thing where you can actually maximize. And then, of course, what's also important is your location setting so that you can know where your scholar is at all times. It's also helpful for identifying if your scholar lose their phone. But if there's an emergency and you're in panic and you don't know where your scholar is, you would hope their phone is on person. So making sure that they have their settings provided for location to where you can actually find where the scholar is or where the device is during an emergency.
Let me go back. Thank you very much. Oh, here we are. This is where we are in our presentation. It is time for the live Q&A. So at this point, if you do have any questions that you would like to ask about any of maybe the apps that were mentioned or the processes that were mentioned, go ahead and ask. Now, I did see this question here. It says, what monitoring options are available to be installed on the school-issued Chromebooks? I texted Mr. Neil Bolton, our Executive Director of Technology. He had told me that Go Guardian Teacher is the tool that monitors the Chromebooks, but this is while it's, at school. There isn't really, it says parents can get access to see their sites that their scholars are accessing, but there isn't a screen monitoring program for parents. But in the classroom, teachers do use the GoGuardian platform for the Chromebooks. So,
And also, I'm sorry.
oh,
No,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
To add to that, another thing that the district has too is that, especially through the students' email systems, that they have a monitoring where they can detect certain words. So if kids are doing things that are inappropriate, saying anything inappropriate on that Chromebook, then the district can actually detect that, and then they email me, because I've had that happen last year for sure, where they'll notify me, hey, this student put this in the chat or in the email, you may want to look into this, whether it's profanity, whether it looked like it may be a possible fight. So they are able to kind of buzz in on key words, and then they typically notify the school for us to intervene. So that's another thing they do in addition to GoGuardian.
Okay.
With the GoGuardian as well, as a parent, you can, as Miss Alicia spoke earlier, you can actually monitor by seeing the websites. Granted that might not be a live situation, is very powerful. I've had several parents where I've met over the amount of screen time that their scholar had been utilizing with GoGuardian before and after school, and they were able to identify the different websites that their scholar was on and how long they were on those sites. So again, it may be something you can't control as far as cutoff with your scholar, but you can surely have a discussion with your scholar and let them know that you're able to see and visualize what's occurring on their day-to-day.
And also, GoGuardian has been a buffer for us sometimes, because you'll have parents that'll reach out and say, well, my kid didn't have enough time. They said they didn't have enough time to do their work in class. You didn't provide enough time. And so what our teachers are able to provide, like Emma said, is they can pull up the exact website your kid went to, how long they stayed on that website, and so forth, in terms of when they saying they don't have time to do things. That hasn't occurred mostly with our teachers, and sometimes when we have substitutes and they may have assignments on Schoology that they have to access. But there is a way to go back and track where they went to, how long they went there, and then we communicate that to the parents and say, yes, your kid did have enough time. They chose to do this instead. So that has been a buffer too, of just helping us to kind of supervise where kids are going, number one, and then to help keep them accountable for doing their assignments when they have online or assignments that are using the device.
Awesome. That's good information. Well, I don't see any other questions. That's all I see. And we have plenty of live viewers. Someone did thank you all for this insight. So that is awesome. I don't know if there's anything else you all would like to share while I'm waiting for some questions to come in, if anyone has them.
Well, I would just like to say that I know that we shared a lot of information about parent supervision in their scholars, and understand that the intent was never, or is not, to bash the idea of how important this is. It is more of identifying the safety concerns that has shifted over the years, things that we were never privy to when we were growing up, and now that it's such a huge influence of our scholars today, and understanding that this safety concern is beyond just the classroom or beyond the school. As we mentioned earlier about certain things that occur with the phones, it also leads to sometimes connecting with others who you do not know. And it's a very unsafe situation that we're having with our scholars. Not that I want to preach on this, but trafficking has increased a lot, within this time, and Dallas being number 2 in the state of Texas. That's something that's really, we have to be concerned of our scholars. And sometimes it happens through social media, not just from someone physically seeing a scholar and removing them, or an adult for that matter. So just monitoring what your child is doing, even ourselves as adults, is very important, because we want to make sure that our children come home safely to us, and that when we put them out in the world, that we know that they are cared for appropriately without harm.
And what I add to that too is just, at the end of the day, we're the parents, and we got to be responsible for our kids. So we can't blame somebody else on the other side of that screen for what's going on. It's our responsibility to make sure we monitor what our kids are doing. And like I said, it's exhausting. It's very exhausting for me to chase chats, chase videos, chase pictures. But as a parent, I have to do what's in the best interest of me and my family, and making time for it. Do I get it right every time? No. But I know that something has to stay on the forefront if I'm speaking to what Edmund said. It's a safety concern beyond the academics. It really is. The world is big and the kids have access to it. So no longer is anything hiding. We have to help them learn how to use it responsibly. And some of that may be with us, we modeling that for them, or we make a TikTok with them, or whatever that is, so that we're not saying don't have any access to it, but teach them how to use it responsibly so that they can see the benefits of it. Because you might see the next millionaire from them starting their own business or whatever else they want to do to promote. They might start their own podcast. That's really cool. So there are a lot of positive things with it. It's just that we as parents, we cannot just turn a blind eye or refuse or avoid doing the discipline piece that comes with it, because there is a lot of discipline that comes with social media with kids. They're excited, they're inquisitive, they're curious, so they're going to push. They're not afraid to push the buttons. It's us that's still learning technology. So it's more so of us taking time to learn it, number one, and then to help and guide them how to use it appropriately. Because you have first and second graders with phones. You have like they starting out with phones at a very young age, and then we're getting to middle school and high school, and it's just free reign. We have to help safeguard our kids. That's our responsibility as parents.
In addition to that, I wanted to kind of add that, Dr. Johnson spoke on, again, the safety concerns. Well, there are also some legal matters that can occur when it's not used properly. We may look at, that's bullying. Some is bullying, some is just, not a smart decision. But there are also threats that are made, and as we mentioned before, you put that out there and think you deleted it, it's already been screenshot or recorded, and now this scholar is being prosecuted for their actions. And so it's just definitely something to always keep in mind of helping your scholar identify the proper way to use social media and even our conversations day to day. Now at this point, we are in a time where threats are definitely taken seriously, no matter what the situation may be or how small, how big the person may be or the story. So to understand that piece of it, social media is something that allows people to do it behind screen and think nothing of it, and wake up the next morning and then there's an officer in your face. So just kind of keep it in mind and helping your scholars prepare appropriately.
And I'm going to go ahead and say this because this is key as well, as people are thinking of questions or may have a question. Just being transparent. Sexting is huge. We got to get in front of that in terms of, so you talk about Edmund talking about the legal piece of that. Our kids are not, like I said, understanding or conceptualizing how that can go into the legal realm. If you're distribution of pornography or you're in possession of, so it's a lot of teaching our kids and they know what shouldn't be in the phone and what they shouldn't do, but we got to help them guide through that. Because like I said, they're curious, going through puberty, all that other stuff. But I don't think sometimes they understand, even though it's in our handbook in the district, even though we tell them what not to do, sometimes it gets too far legal and then our hands are tied. So just making sure that you constantly stay abreast of what your kids are doing, and then don't overshadow or don't gloss over something that's major. So if you do see something that's inappropriate in their phone, hey, I don't pull up something and show them what the law is. This is what the law is. This is what code of conduct says, so that they can see it's bigger than you just wanting to have fun with your friends, because they just see it as being fun, having fun with their friends, or possibly making fun of somebody, but it can become legal in that standpoint too. So be careful of that as well.
This is all really, really good and valuable information. And maybe that's what it is. Because again, we have plenty of viewers, live viewers, but maybe they're just absorbing this information and just, because I am. But I definitely appreciate you all for your time this evening. I don't, if you've been here with me before, every time I put my little banner up, it's about time to go. This is my banner. So I say thank you for joining us. That means we are going to bid you adieu. Oh, hold on. I see a comment. Let me see what this says. Oh, it's a thank you. See, I think that the viewers that we have, they're just really listening to this information and probably appreciative of it. We lost someone. Oh, Miss Boyd. But again, thank you for tuning in this evening. And I am not sure when our next Digital Parent University is going to be, but I will be figuring that out, and we will send that information out when we have it. But upcoming, we do of course have those upcoming bond meetings that we're going to have, these community meetings, and again our safety and security summit that's going to be upcoming as well. Anything else you all want to add?
Thank you. We appreciate your time and you being here.
Absolutely. Thank you.
It's always a great day and a great evening to be a Longhorn. Thank you so much for your time. Have a great night.
You all have a good evening. Bye.